back at the park this morning. Was tempted to do a short vlog yesterday afternoon just to kind of talk about my day, but ended up being quite cold yesterday, so I thought I'd leave it. It's quite nice actually. When I recorded a vlog yesterday, afterwards I put on some jazz music. There's a certain album that I haven't heard in a while, and it was strange because I was feeling a little bit not sure what to listen to kind of help calm and soothe, and I've been listening, I guess, to a lot of sort of ambient sort of meditation music, and so I took a chance on putting on some of this jazz, and those jazz can be quite strong for my senses, and it can be quite a lot. It feels like I need to have a little bit of energy to listen to it, but almost took a chance to kind of think, oh, maybe it will just, I don't know, give me a bit of energy and uplifting, and sometimes when you're feeling really vulnerable, it's even to kind of pick a certain type of music and can be a bit fearful. There can be some fear in that as well. So, but after kind of playing the music, and I was just looking at the nature here and the trees, and it certainly helped a little bit. And it's strange, my imagination was I don't know if I was thinking of a story idea, because I write all my creative writing projects, and kind of working on a novel at the moment, and for some reason I just had these sort of warm sort of images come of, I don't know if it was me or just a character in maybe somewhere in the States, and maybe they had like a kind of close-knit group of friends, and they were just at this cozy cafe, and it was more just a feeling of that, like I almost stepped into someone's life for a bit and was able to kind of step into their shoes, or it's a bit strange, but I think a lot of it was just maybe my imagination. Those kind of images came to mind as the music was playing, just maybe having a different life, or another life sort of came to me in that sense, and not a sense of what I'm aiming for, but because it was kind of a younger person than me, so it's just it was just some escapism. I don't know. I did also think about my current writing stuff as well, and I was just kind of working through some thoughts about that and the current story I'm working on. So it was a nice moment. Like in that moment, the music was kind of playing, and it's like a jazz orchestra. So there's a lot of sort of almost like you're at a live performance in a sense. So it kind of gave me a bit of a break in my mind. So that I was grateful for that, especially with the current property stuff. It was funny yesterday when I after the park I packed up my stuff, and actually when I got back from the park I decided to do a quick hoover and mop the floors, which is kind of spontaneous and something I really struggle with, like to do some kind of housework and things. So I kind of felt better for doing it. I was grateful the energy came to do that. So and I decided to kind of fast for the morning and not have breakfast, just because my IBS has really been difficult as of late, and I don't know if I've got like a stomach bug or I don't know what it is, but it's been quite bad for the last several days or more. Don't think it's a stomach bug. I think it's just, I don't know quite what it is, but it doesn't seem that way. And then I left to go to the library, and I got to the library and it was closed. So it just shocked me. I'd forgotten the days of when it was open or closed, and it kind of it can be a bit shocking because I stood outside the automatic doors, and of course everything was dark in there, and it just took me a few moments for things to chime. And I checked the notice board, and of course it clicked in. It was Tuesday, and I was like, oh yeah, it's closed. So I kind of continued walking down the street, not knowing where I was going really, and maybe I don't know if there was maybe a slight embarrassment, which is probably most likely not the case. That someone is watching, thinking, oh, he's packed up his sort of writing stuff, his laptop, and he's not realised the library's not open. And of course it could have just looked like someone passing by and just thinking, oh, I'll pop into the library and it's closed, and they just moved on. So it's funny what thoughts can do. So I was carrying on walking down the street thinking, okay, I've no idea what to do now. And I came across an estate agent, and part of me was brave enough to go in. I thought, okay, let's just go in and have a chat with them. And I had a chat with them about trying to find a rental space and register with them as well. And they mentioned that there's an estate agent just down the road, and that perhaps you should register with as many as possible, and just so you can get alerts for new places. So I went to 2 more estate agents close by and did that. And then I went to this kind of Buddhist sort of cafe. That's part of a Buddhist monastery, but it's like a cafe as well. And I thought, okay, perhaps I can do some writing there. And then that was closed. So I kind of regrouped and thought, okay, let's go back home. And at that point I was getting a bit hungry as well, so I thought, okay, it's not meant to be. I didn't want to really go to another cafe, and of course I'm aware of my expenses at the moment as well, and so that kind of kicked in as well, thinking maybe it's better off I just go back home. Yeah, so I went home and had some porridge, which was good, and after that I didn't have it planned, but I think I went on a property site that was already open on my laptop, and I kind of got into a bit of a groove of just searching for properties and things, and emailing agents to see if there's viewings and stuff, and unfortunately most of the agents I haven't heard back from, so I know the market's just crazy at the moment with the amount of people looking for a place and the small amount of places that are available. So it often means that there are perhaps dozens of applicants on each place, and of course there is the thought in the back which provokes a lot of anxiety that of course out of those applicants there's probably going to be a good handful that have a really good job and who would naturally be more better suited than me in my situation. So it feels like I'm always up against the odds of that, and so as I was kind of looking at different flats and trying to kind of contact agents, a lot of pain came up, probably from thoughts such as that, and maybe the pain of the lack of what's available and how it's going to be so difficult for me. So, and it was strange because again it was almost like the other day there was like a lot of pain, but something in me was aware enough to think, okay, I need to put this down and I need to kind of find an outlet to manage the pain, not just sort of fall into it. And like I think in the past perhaps there's patterns of binge eating and watching, hibernating, watching stuff, isolating myself, but instead I kind of decided to do some cooking as well. I thought I needed to kind of cook as well, and despite me not feeling really good in myself or feeling in a lot of sort of mental, emotional pain, I decided to cook, and I put on a talk as well. I've been listening to a lot of Stephen Greer, Dr. Stephen Greer, and about extraterrestrials and a lot of that stuff, and the more I listen, the more informative it is, and the more, in some ways, crazy the situation is with the current, the current stuff. And it's just it's weird because I haven't got like a huge fascination with like space and those types of things, but it goes far beyond that. There's like an spiritual aspect to it as well, and consciousness. So I think that's what I connect with. So I've kind of been watching a lot of that and learning about stuff. So that's been useful. And so I kind of watched that as I did some cooking. And after the cooking, I again felt good in myself for doing it, and I still felt a lot of pain, mental emotional pain, but I realised this is the way to go to try to manage it and to allow it to flow through me as it needs to. Maybe I'll talk more about that on a podcast episode. Might be more relevant there to go into more detail about that. And after cooking, I was kind of in a bit of a flow. I thought, okay, perhaps, it was really sunny yesterday afternoon, so there's a sense of me thinking, okay, perhaps I can sort of get out to get some sun and also do a bit of reading as well. I had that in my mind as an activity, so I took currently reading on my phone, which is a bit of a weird experience. Probably not, I know it's not the best way, but that's all I kind of have available at the moment in regards to reading on a device anyway. So I find a laptop a bit too big and clunky to read from, and I know the phone is probably a bit too small, but I maximised the font, so it's quite big on the screen, but it means that it's like 1,000 pages of the book, because it's of course so small and it's only a certain amount can fit on one page. But so yeah, I kind of found myself, I did a lap around the park yesterday afternoon, and it was still really cold, but I sat for a good 20 minutes doing 15-20 minutes doing some reading, and then when I came back inside, there was a part of me thinking that I don't perhaps have the energy to do like a writing session, but perhaps I can sit with the writing and check in with my story and sort of stay dialed into it. So I wrote a few ideas down for scenes of the story and how I can move it forward, and so that was really useful to do, even if it was just for 5 or 10 minutes, just to stay dialed in. Then after that I got sort of dinner ready, and ended up watching a movie, The Client. I wanted to watch, I guess, something while Netflix is still there for me, something that was a bit more of a story, less sort of, a lot of sort of movies and TV now just sort of elicits a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear and those types of stuff. But there's also movies and TV shows that also have a deeper, there's almost not just a feel-good sense, but there's a deeper, the way it was written and the way something was filmed, there was a kind of a deeper notion there than just entertainment. So maybe movies are a true story as well, so I wanted something like that, and I came across The Client, and something I'd watched a long time ago, and I sensed the movie was similar to that in terms of the characters and the line of the story, and after watching that, I got myself to bed at a good time. It was a bit sort of, it could have gone either way. It was close to bedtime, and I partly wanted to sort of maybe was really tempted to stay up a little bit longer to watch some YouTube, but I managed to pull myself away and get myself into bed at 10:30. And one of the things I've been doing is, of course, putting a lot of focus in my sleep hygiene stuff. And one of the areas that I sort of learned about, I don't know if I mentioned in a previous vlog, was to look at the temperature of my sleeping area, because I'm learning that when the body sort of needs to drop a degree or so, the core temperature, to fall into sleep and to stay asleep. So there was the element that you often overlooked, of the temperature in the room. If it's too hot, then so I kind of although it's really cold outside, I've kind of tried to manage my thermostat to still have it warm inside. But I got rid of my I've got like my duvet, and I've got a thin blanket, so I got rid of the blanket, and for the last couple of nights I've been doing that. But and I think yes, last night my sleep was better, and I think even the night before there was elements where the sleep was a little bit better then as well. So yeah, so I'm kind of just acknowledging and grateful that I had a bit of a better sleep, and like I didn't get up in the middle of the night. And maybe there's also an element of me being aware of sort of fluids I have before bed, so try and ensure that I don't, or minimise the chances of me having to wake up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night. So yeah, it's a very mixed day yesterday. Some really nice moments, and obviously a learning curve about dealing with the pain that's coming up with the situation that the situation evokes in me, of finding a space. And I was feeling a little bit sad this morning, as just before recording, as I was walking around, because it feels like perhaps this cycle is going to be a bit common for me for the foreseeable future, as I try and find a space and deal with everything around that as well. So it's going to take a little bit of strength to when the pain does come up, to try to sit with it and to not resist it, and not fall into sort of negative activities, or activities that will have more of a negative impact on me, and exacerbate that whole process. And that takes a bit of strength to remain with that awareness as well. So I'm not sure how today's looking. Like I in some ways I still feel the pain that hasn't left me from yesterday. It almost, with doing the activity, it kind of, the volume of the pain goes up, and then when I'm able to kind of get it back down again, it's there sort of simmering away a little bit, because I'm still in the situation I'm in. So that has its almost has its own frequency, its own sort of tension or whatever, energy around that. So until like that gets resolved, I feel like that energy is still going to be with me. Again, maybe something I'll talk about in a podcast episode might be better, so I can perhaps go into more sort of details about the spiritual side of stuff and the energies and things. So yeah, I managed to, waking up a bit more refreshed, which was good. It made it easier to sort of to shave and to do my weekly sort of head shave, and so I've done that and managed to get out here at a good time. Things are a bit up in the air, I guess, in regards to my day, because actually my brother, kindly inquired with the estate agent in the area he lives, and there's also a rental place nearby there as well, where I emailed him the link for it, and he's kindly going to inquire about that. And so there are some, so we'll see what happens with that potentially. But it could be a case of where, I get a phone call saying, oh, there's a viewing, let's do a viewing today, or so I'm kind of a little bit sort of on standby a little bit. So there's just having that awareness of perhaps being ready to move if I need to. But perhaps I can continue what I was doing yesterday. Just the library opens at 11 today. Today's Wednesday. It's definitely open. And so perhaps I can just sort of head back now, have breakfast, aim to maybe get to the library 11 to do the writing and do some reading as well. And again, which I forgot to do yesterday, is to read The Depression Cure. So that's come to my mind. Maybe I'll read that at the library as soon as I get there. Do a little bit of reading with that before I start writing. So I can really sort of try and solidify these steps I'm doing with this as well, which are becoming a bit more. Well, some of them are becoming a bit more natural, like, getting a bit more light in the daytime, and I've got a feeling it will take a little bit of time for me to discover and really build on each of these steps. Like I'm doing them right now, probably like at the bare minimum sort of level of, even with the exercise, I'm not really getting in like a full sort of workout, but I'm doing some walking, and I'm sure that's that counts for something. So so I think leaving this, I can sense the pain simmering there, and that's putting out a little bit of anxiety. So maybe just having some breakfast, or maybe watching something that helps with the anxiety before I head to the library. Maybe that's a good chance to address that. And see how the rest of the day unfolds. Of course, it was nice yesterday in some ways, because I felt a little bit flexible with things. When the library was closed, it wasn't a huge reaction. It's a bit more of a shock, thinking, oh, okay, I'm not sure what to do now. So, I think I managed to kind of go, roll with it. Did a good job with that. And even today, again, there's openness about, if I suddenly need to, like, or if I head out to meet my brother, or things like, something like that happens, then to kind of try and go with it as best as I can. I've got food kind of set up for me today. I bought some of these vegan sort of spinach, if I can say the word, bites, so I can have that for lunch. And I've got the food I made yesterday. I've got that for another couple portions of that. So today and tomorrow. So so that's one less thing to think about, which is good. My hand's getting cold now, so it's probably time to end this. But hopefully for another similar day to yesterday would be nice, and I can continue my one thing I've not only mentioned much here, but just my spiritual practice of being in the present moment, and maybe dialing into that, and allowing that to sort of help me through the day. That would be sure that would give that will. It's probably the biggest help that I have. So let's continue with that.